Week 6 of this style of learning. Wow. It's week 6. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I'm getting used to it. Maybe I'm going to have a YouTube channel in the future. Maybe I'll become an influencer. Who knows? Anyway, I guess we're kind of in this for a while now. I didn't check the numbers today. Maybe I should check the numbers, see what's going on. 2-week chain. That's where I get my numbers from. Nobody's giving me better numbers. I wish there was a place I could get better numbers. Let's see. Japan postponed the Olympics. One Vietnamese hamlet is isolated after a girl tests positive for COVID-19. Let me take a guess. I'm going to take a wild guess. She was overseas and she came back to Vietnam. Let's check it. An entire hamlet in the Mekong Delta has been fenced off after a girl returning from Malaysia brought the virus. This is another student coming back with the virus. Every time, it's the same thing. So that's fun. I think they're going to stop doing that now, which is great. It's really, I mean, we've got this kind of under control, better than most countries. So young people are not really, they're not getting really that sick at all, and they're coming back to Vietnam and getting everybody sick. So let's just have them stay there for a while. Anyway, innovation. Wow, we need some innovation right now. We need a vaccine for the coronavirus. Imagine that you had to make 6 billion vaccines in about 6 months. That's not really even possible, even with great innovation. But sometimes it is a little bit different. Like, innovation means to be able to do something different, right? And if you really need to do something different, like a vaccine, then you have a research and development part of your business, right? If you know that in the future you have to continue to innovate, you build that into your organization. So innovation, there's a few different ways to consider this. So I'm not gonna talk about disruptive innovation right away, because that's a huge deal. But let's say that the first two things to think about is that there are different size innovations. Some of them change the whole market. The fundamentals of the market change. Those are called disruptive innovations. And then we have the other one, which is called incremental. Incremental means step by step, smaller innovations. And then we have innovations in products, services, processes, and systems. So we think about innovation, I think people tend to think about, for some reason, invention and innovation, I guess they both begin with I, get mixed up quite a bit. I mean, inventions don't come around every day. Inventions are things that usually are, they're breaking some new ground, or they're finding a new way to do something that we didn't, that we've done for a long time, but it's better than the past. And usually you need to have some kind of intellectual property protection for that. If it's a product, you need a patent. Sometimes a process, you need a patent. If it's a method of doing something, sometimes a service could possibly get a patent. But when you have an invention, you're thinking about, okay, this invention is going to be, it's not really ready yet. You invent something, you don't know what the final use of it's going to be. I mean, even the light bulb, I'm sure they didn't really first think, oh wow, now there's going to be light, every house is going to have light. Maybe they did, maybe they were really fast. Light bulb was a pretty good one. But some innovations you don't really know. Bluetooth technology. What are people going to use it for? I don't know, but we can use it, and now we have it. So people will come up with uses for an invention after they invent it. So the invention doesn't always mean that it's going to immediately apply to some use. And that's different from innovation. Like an invention can be an innovation, but by innovation, we mean something that's going to nova, new. So it's a new way of doing things, right? It's a noun. It's like a new way of doing things. Innovation, and that doesn't have to be an invention. It can be on many different levels. You can realize that there's some small inefficiency to what you're trying to do. And in that case, you can just change a small part of your process and save a lot of money. In other words, you could have, I mean, that's what specialization was. Specialization was, okay, we're going to have 4 people build a car together. They're like one team of car builders. They put on each part until the car's finished, and then we made an assembly line. Wait a second, here, this person does one thing, one, and we just keep everything moving all the time. It's 10 times faster. That was a, process and system innovation. Was it patented? I don't know. Maybe the assembly line was patented. I'm not sure about that. I don't know the real answer to that question, but I think people usually don't patent like processes. They think of it, okay, yeah, this is just a smarter way to work. And that creates efficiency, and that saves money and cost usually. So when you have process innovation, you definitely save a lot of money it's very valuable for the company. But we usually think, again, of like, wow, new products and new services. Those are the only innovations. But really, the innovation goes all the way from the product, all the way down through how you develop your organizational structure, all the way through your research and development and processes of manufacturing. So the innovation can happen everywhere, and some systems are really focused on processes, like the Japanese Kaizen system, which I'll show you. So try to not mix up the idea of innovation with invention. It's not just about products, it's about the entire efficiency of the operation and also meeting customers' needs and wants. It's both. Innovation is about creating something new and improving existing systems, products, or processes. It can be a radical change, which is the disruptive change that I mentioned. Radical means it changes the whole market. So, a quick example, most of us have these now, but we don't have digital cameras, or maybe we do, but we don't use them as much because we take pictures with our phone. Our phone pixels, megapixels has gotten so strong that it's not even really, they're almost as good as a good digital camera anyway. So the people who are making digital cameras are being affected by this, let's say, radical change, disruptive technology. It can be a radical change or a change built from incremental, that's the word there, incremental improvements. By the way, I'm on chapter 9. I thought you would know that already, but I didn't say it. So chapter 9, page 55. Chapter 9. You should always have your book ready when you're watching a video, by the way. So, incremental improvements. An outcome of innovation is the continuous improvement. You'll see a lot of phrases for that. Continuous improvement of products, processes, and systems. This involves building on good practice and being able to identify ways to keep getting better. Innovation can lead to, what can innovation lead to? So I guess this is a common question that you can get in the sense that, you know, they'll ask you what are the benefits of innovation, for example. Of course, everybody wants to talk about profits. That's always a thing. Hold on one second. Jessica, Miss Jessica. We miss Miss Jessica. Improved economic outcomes, basically profit. The company will survive. It'll be able to fight off its competition and maintain its market share. A company that can innovate or remains innovative can basically maintain their staff and create that kind of improvement. What is this thing? What is this here? Oh my God, what is going on? Let's see. Please inform to all our teachers about the current situation. It's very complicated. Whatever. People are getting infected every day, therefore it is recommended that all teachers refrain from going out in public, especially not meeting with their friends, because they're likely to be returning from Europe. That's not true. No one's returning from Europe where COVID is happening. Boy, that's comic. That's comic there. Yeah, okay, that's great. So yeah, warning us, my friends are here. There's no one coming in. No one's new, no one's going in and out right now. It's just, we're all hanging out. Everyone who's here has been here for months, since the beginning of the semester in January, maybe after TED. TED was January, it's over. There's no one here that we know who is traveling. No one. Everyone here is here, and they're not meeting people from Europe, United States, just because we have white skin, which is funny. Anyway, I don't hang out with tourists. Never did. Living here 15 years. I don't hang out with tourists. I don't, ever. Anyway, so don't be afraid of me. I wouldn't need these. Okay, so anyway, increased employment. Of course, it's good for the economy when business is growing. So increased exports can be a result of innovation. If you have something that other people don't have, or other countries have not solved yet, you can be the first one to create that innovation and increase your exports and growth overseas. Innovation can lead to improved skills in the workforce. It can keep your workforce engaged in finding solutions in finding solutions to you know. You can have a passive workforce that's authoritarian. You know, we went through this last year, right? We had authoritarian, compromising, democratic, laissez-faire. We had different kinds of leadership and management styles. But by keeping your staff engaged in finding new ways to be innovative, especially in manufacturing, can lead to an interest in the work by the employees and an engaged staff. It can lead to new ways of working that are more efficient. It can lead to better management of environmental impact. That's a systems issue. So basically we can find ways to recycle or ways to create less waste in our processes, which is great as well, like no plastic bags, for example. So innovation in the process would be, yeah, okay, it's not a new product, it's not a new invention, but if you find a way to not give people plastic bags but they can carry their coffee anyway, then that's kind of the innovation. It's not the first handle in the world, but when people are riding on motorbikes, it's much better than trying to carry a bag. So that's innovation. It's not an invention, but it's an innovation. It's just a better way of doing things. Sources for innovation. Sources for innovation often come from, quiet moments in the shower or bathroom. But on a different level, it comes from customers' complaints. When you look at your competition and you see what the customers are having trouble with, you can get ideas from customer motivations and preferences. You can get innovative ideas from, so you can watch how customers use your product. Maybe they use it in different ways than you expect. You can get feedback from them directly. You can understand your competitors better and what they do right and wrong and try to find better ways. You can use your sales and cost data. So by understanding how you're spending money, you're able to cut costs, and maybe you can cut costs in some creative ways that allow you to be more efficient and not cut staff, for example. Feedback and ideas from the staff. The staff in many businesses are the front line. They meet the customers every day. They know what the customers are thinking. If the customers have a problem but they never say it, the staff probably knows about it. Suppliers. See most everyone in your industry. So if you have suppliers, then you can find out about trends in supplies, or maybe some part of the options. Let's say you use some kind of plastic or wood to produce something, and the supplier says, hey, there's a new kind of wood, you might try this one. We never tried, if people are using it, it's much cheaper and it's stronger, try it. You might find out from the suppliers that there's a way you can do things differently. Of course, market research can help you to narrow down your market, not waste money on poor media choices, how to deal with the new advertising on social media world, which is very complex. And also production and quality control data. So you can understand where your problems come for quality control and try to limit your defective products and hopefully be able to manage that as well. So there's lots of different places where you can pick up innovative ideas. You can, as long as you're analyzing. That's what a manager needs to do. You need to analyze all the parts of the operation to be able to check what's going on. So here, continuous improvement and innovation has long been a part of business operations management. So we're going to put this in the operations section. You can have a research and development department that's part of operations, but also connects to marketing, as you can see in the sources for ideas of information. So usually, any kind of research and development, or it's going to be in touch with the other branches of the company anyway. It's not only operations. The role of innovation is also, role of innovation is also applied to the products and services a business offers to create and maintain a competitive advantage. Way back at the beginning of the first semester of BME, we tied together the role of innovation in success. And the role of innovation in success is competitive advantage. You should always have that in your head. So why? Any question that comes up on exams about innovation and successful innovation, you should end up talking about competitive advantage probably at some point. Competitive advantage, that's why we do it. If you're more efficient than your competition, then you get process, you might get performance. That's where that performance competitive advantage comes in. Maybe you get a better way of customer service, you put the name of the customer on the cup or whatever, you make them feel at home. That's a people and customer relationship type of competitive advantage. So we really don't just focus on product. You look for all the different kinds of competitive advantages there. Process innovation can increase safety, reduce cost, and increase profit by improving quality, efficiency, and reducing waste. That paragraph is great. You should highlight it. I really think that paragraph is useful. As you know, I'm not a big fan of this book most of the time, but that's okay. Innovation can be based around process and or product, but don't get hung up on the idea of just one kind. Okay, so we have a little case study on the next page. Process innovation. Process innovation is about changing and improving how a business operates, manufactures, distributes, or markets its products and services. So it's not what is something the customer doesn't really see. It's background. They don't know about it. They just see the products and services, but you know that you're providing them in a better way than you used to, that you've improved. And we all see businesses that have a good system at one point, but they never fix it. They never improve. I always think about some of these ice cream places, I don't think they have too many of them anymore, but you used to be able to go in, take your ice cream, you put it on the thing, and then you put your toppings on there. And I think it failed for various reasons, but one of the reasons, I think people like to make their own kind of ice cream and put the topping on, that's fun. But then, like, at the end, you get the price and you have to, it's just like this massive disappointment. You have all this fun and then you're like, 120,000 for an ice cream? What? So then the next time you go there, you start to think about, I wonder if the weight of Dalfam is more, is it heavier than strawberries, or is it, which things that you put in on your ice cream are heavier or lighter, because they made every topping the same price by weight. So, people are trying to make all kinds of calculations in their mind as they're, instead of just enjoying making whatever they want to eat. Maybe some people still do, but I find myself very confused by all these choices. And then the last part, you put some sauce on there, a little chocolate sauce on the top, and they're like, okay, that's also gonna add like 400 grams. It's like somehow ended up being like 25,000 just for the chocolate sauce. So I'd always go to the end of the line and then put it on the scale, pay the money, and then put the chocolate sauce on, and they're like, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, I don't know, I'm so stupid. They're like, next time. And I'm like, okay, next time. I knew what I was doing. Anyway, the process is unnecessarily complicated. It seemed like a good idea, but it got more complicated over time. And they probably could have done something nice by just making the sauce free at the end, and everybody would forget about all the problems. But they didn't really think about the customers. I would really be focused on how my customers feel when they pay if I was in a situation like that. All right, process innovation is about changing and improving how they operate, manufacture, distribute, or market their products, including distribution, place strategies. An emerging process innovation is cloud computing. Cloud computing, that is an emerging innovation. People, it's like a tool. It's like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or all these things. So you think about, it's quite powerful. For example, let's imagine that you are going to start an app. When you make an app, you're supposed to, like in the past, people would make apps and then they would try to predict, let's say you're going to do Angry Birds. You're the inventor of Angry Birds. You make Angry Birds, you put it in the App Store, people download it, and then they're ready to go Angry Birds crazy, and they open up the app, they play it for 5 minutes, crash. You try again, play it for 5 minutes, crash. Why did that happen? Because whoever made the app in the past had to buy a bunch of computer servers they were going to have enough server power to run the app. That's fine. Maybe you had a server power for 10,000 people, and then in 1 week, the amount of people doubles, triples. It's 100,000 in 1 week. It's a very popular game. You're scrambling. You're trying to buy servers. You're filling up rooms full of computer servers to make sure that your app doesn't crash. Or, on the other side, you think it's going to be really popular. You buy 10,000 servers, you set them up, and nobody comes. Big waste of cost. You bankrupted your company because you misunderstood the demand or how fast it was going to catch on. Maybe it did catch on, but it was 2 months too late. And you already spent too much on these servers and you're bankrupt. Too late. So what the cloud computing idea is, one use of cloud computing that can lead to innovation, is that now you can scale. The word scale means go from small to make something bigger. So use it like a verb. Can you scale this? Can you take it in one school or one shop? And can you expand it and have the same quality in many shops or many places? So like economies of scale, it means to get bigger. So for example, so that means now if you're the innovator or the person who designed the Angry Birds game, you can monitor how many people are using your app, and as fast as your app grows, you can just order more server space from Amazon Cloud Services or some company that offers cloud services. So you don't have to buy the servers anymore. You don't need to put down $500,000 or $1 million or $10 million of servers. You don't have to get that investment money. You just have to make the app. And now you can buy server space on demand when you need it. So it supports the company. So that leads to, thousands and thousands of designers who could never get an investor have a chance now to put their apps on the App Store and to be able to be successful. Some might argue there's too many apps in the App Store, but I think it's quite democratic now. It's interesting. So that's an innovation. Cloud computing is basically renting server space on demand whenever you need it for something that you need it for, and typically like new startups and apps and things like that. Okay, so here they're giving another example of what is a process innovation. Australian company Meridius Fresh supplies supermarkets, fruit markets, national restaurant chains with fresh fruit. They placed radio frequency identification tags, otherwise known as RFID, on tomato trays to track the origin, packing date, type, quality, and size of the tons of tomatoes it ships every day. This means it can track the precise amount and quality of tomatoes in its supply chain at any point in time. Did you know that there were ships of tomato on the open seas waiting for buyers? I did not know that. But this company can do it, and in real time they can make sure they can get a specific volume and grade of tomato and tell its customers exactly when and where it was grown, when it was shipped, and when it will arrive. That's a great thing, I think, in terms of not wasting food, although maybe you should just grow the tomatoes in your house or next to you, but whatever. If we're shipping, it's more efficient. Before I show the disruptive innovation video, I think I have a good process innovation video for you. Boris Johnson, scary guy. No, I gotta. He tries to look serious, but he's never serious. The Japanese style of process innovation is quite famous. It's called Kaizen. And this is a really good video. There's one really nice video here. I think this is it. This is it. I like this one. And mostly I like it because the music is so cool. Oh my God. You gotta hear this music at the beginning. The secret behind Japanese productivity. Those are tools. This is a factory.
Visitors to factories in Japan often remark how carefully and neatly the tools and working materials are arranged. This is actually the key to efficiency. When tools are laid out clearly and conveniently, no work time is wasted looking for them. And logical pre-positioning of materials reduces time spent transporting them to workspaces, lessening the danger of collisions en route. Such techniques for improving work efficiency and safety are known as Kaizen, a Japanese word that simply means to do something better. Our workers on the shop floor are always thinking of ways to improve the workflow, revising procedures so they take 2 steps instead of 3, or need 5 seconds instead of 10. Many tiny improvements add up to give a big result. That's Kaizen. The idea of Kaizen began in automobile plants about 70 years ago. Workers sharing their knowledge to revise and improve work procedures made a great contribution during the years of Japan's rapid economic growth, and the Kaizen philosophy is still firmly embedded in Japanese industry. Let's look at how Kaizen works in this sandwich factory, which has a mostly female workforce. Their old way of doing it was for each worker to handle a single process as the materials moved past them on the line. But one process, cutting the bread, always took more time and interrupted the flow.
They noticed it. The workers are like, cutting the bread, it's too slow. Everybody's waiting. But no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to change it up.
Keeping the next worker waiting. We'd been doing it that way for years and never saw it was a problem. Once they realized the weakness in their system, they decided to change from a linear flow to one where small groups of workers each complete batches of sandwiches. After rearranging workbenches and assigning multiple processes to each worker, the time required fell sharply and productivity went up. Now we rarely have to stand about waiting for materials. It's really improved the job. This factory employs a large number of workers with disabilities. The Kaizen approach paid off here too. A major goal of our Kaizen effort was to make it easier and more comfortable for the workers to do their jobs. Trash receptacles were redesigned for easy transportation. And various assistive devices allow people with visual impairments to operate equipment. This worker devised the Kaizen idea of stabilizing hanging screwdrivers with flexible cords. His improvement reduces wasteful movement, and since the drivers are used thousands of times a day, saves as much as 200 minutes of work time a month. It really feels like you've accomplished something when you come up with a new technique like this. We all enjoy thinking and working together to make our job better. Spares and supplies are arranged for easy handling by the visually challenged. For example, these tapes are arranged by type, and large paper discs indicate by touch when only one is left. And the disc's bright printed design delivers the information clearly to sighted people too. Car jacks allow work tables to be raised and lowered to match the height of each wheelchair. This idea was so helpful, jacks have been fitted to all the work tables. Ideas intended to make things easier for people with disabilities often simplify everyone's work.
See? This one's great. Look at this guy. He's like, wait, maybe we shouldn't put the saw above our head, or maybe this really heavy wrench is too high, it could kill somebody, so let's put them lower. That's Kaizen.
improving productivity, quality, and working conditions, and all with no need for new equipment.
Yeah, clean your mess up. It's easier to deal with when you can find it every day. That's Kaizen.
Japan's Kaizen approach is winning followers around the world.
Love that video. It's my favorite. All right, yeah, Kaizen, incremental, innovation, continuous improvement. You see many terms for this. Continuous improvement. It involves the staff. It gets the employees engaged. The workers seem happy when they know that their idea is helping the company and leading to success. They feel part of the team. Now, that's also true. The Japanese, they spend a lot of time working in the same company for many, many years, so it's useful. Okay, so that's process innovation, right? All of that is about process. So process versus product. I'll put this video online. Then we have this. So process innovation is continual improvement. You don't really have the same comparison. I mean, it's mostly incremental, right? So when you get to product innovation, you may have incremental innovation. I mean, at this point, I don't really see a big difference between the iPhone 8 and 10 or whatever it is, X. I don't really see huge differences in the quality or the functionality of those phones. Maybe they're slightly better, or the camera's slightly better, or they have a new kind of way to recognize your face, which I don't want. I don't want facial recognition on my phone. So actually it stops me from wanting to buy the phone. Yeah, but it's safer. Yeah, but it's creepy. You know, so it's too much. I mean, the fingerprint, even that, okay, can kind of, do I want to have my... I mean, I'm sure anyone who has a phone with a touchscreen, if they want to take your fingerprint, they can get it every day of the week. But to be able to have to use that to get into my phone, what if I'm leaving my phone at home and I'm like, I have something on my phone that's important and I'm like, call my wife and I'm like, can you just open my phone and check this phone number? And she's like, I can't because I don't have your fingerprint. What am I going to do? Cut off a finger and leave it at home every day in case I need it? Anyway, I don't really, I'm not a big fan of these. These are over. I think there's over innovation now, which is also happening. And I don't think that's really revolutionary. It doesn't change the use of the product of the phone. People still use the phone in the same way. So we don't really think about, so that's incremental. Even if something is new, it doesn't really mean that it's revolutionary. It's just like, okay, well, it's a slightly different way to pay money with a phone. I still pay money, I still do exactly the same thing. Maybe it's not even faster, maybe you're sitting at the checkout line at the supermarket and this person is using Via Pay and it's like, wow, it's the future, people pay with their phone. But they can't do it, or the code's not lining up. Everybody's waiting in line, someone's messing around with technology instead of just giving money to the person behind the counter. Sometimes it's not more efficient. Sometimes it's just a new way to slow things down. So I get annoyed when I see people pay with their phone. You go to a movie theater or a cinema and somebody ordered tickets online. It's harder, it's not easier. They're like, okay, you have a coupon for popcorn here, and you have this here, you ordered this, and then like checking the phone and this and that. It's like, oh my God. 2 tickets please and some popcorn. Here's your money, let's go. It's really, yeah, it's not great. Anyway, so most actual innovation in products is just incremental. It's slightly better, new flavors. It's still a donut. It's not a revolution in donuts. It's just a new flavor. They put marshmallows on a chocolate donut. It's not a revolution. So it's just an incremental innovation. On the other hand, there are some things that are maximally disruptive, that totally change the game. Many of them happen because of digitalization, especially in the arts, music, and film industries, for example. Once you put something into a digital code, you basically can't control your copyright anymore. Software, for example. So, here are two examples. Maybe we'll try to figure out from these examples which one is, or are they incremental or disruptive? Product innovation refers to changing or improving the features, materials, or functions of a product or service. Nintendo, Wii changed the way games are played by innovating controller technology. Nintendo introduced a handheld device that translates movement into visual screen feedback. This has introduced gaming to a new market. Is it a new market or is it still kids? I don't know. And created a niche for Nintendo. It's for sure, it was a niche for a while. I don't know if people still use Wii. It seems like the trend was kind of 4 or 5 years, which is not bad for a trend. But it looks also like Nintendo failed to maintain, to innovate, and to create new experiences with their Wii system that made people want to keep doing it. I don't know why. I'm not an expert on that. I should probably try to figure out what happened to Wii. It could have been disruptive, just like now when people use the virtual reality, the Oculus or virtual reality. That's fun, but I don't think I want to wear this thing on my head all the time. I don't want to be out of the world that much, right? We're already out of the world on our phone all day. Do I want to be 100% sight and sound away from what's happening around me? I don't think it's ever going to be something that's completely disruptive. But you never know. Maybe if there's, if the future, maybe we'll need some sunshine from that. I don't know. Dyson are well known for their product innovations and how their appliances work. For example, the cyclonic vacuum. I don't know what that means. The cyclonic vacuum, the bladeless fan. That's exciting. And the Airblade hand dryer. Dyson prevent competitors from copying their products and taking market share by using a range of intellectual property protections, using patents, registration, designs, trademarks, and copyright. So yeah, obviously if you've got some kind of innovation that you want to keep your competitive advantage, you will focus on, you will make sure that you protect it. Okay, so here's a little video about disruptive innovation. We'll talk about it more in a minute. Disruptive innovation. Did you hear that music in the Kaizen video? So good.
How does a small, young company beat an industry giant on its own turf? Through what Harvard Business School professor Clayton Christensen calls disruptive innovation. It works like How does a small, young company beat an industry giant on its own turf? Through what Harvard Business School professor Clayton Christensen calls disruptive innovation. It works like this. Big players focus on sustaining innovation, upgrading existing products and services to attract higher-paying customers. But soon, they start to ignore all the regular customers who just want simple, low-cost alternatives. That's where the entrepreneurial company jumps in with that basic offering. The big guys stay focused on more profitable customers and begin to overserve, adding bells and whistles no one wants to pay for. Meanwhile, the disruptor improves its product to appeal to more people. By the time the incumbent notices, the disruptor has already started to take over the market. The classic example is the steel mini mills, which first produced low-quality rebar, then moved to sheet steel, stealing business from the large mills that had been dominant. More recent disruptors include car makers like Toyota and Hyundai, which launched with economy models that added luxury features and brands. The only way for industry giants to fight back is by launching their own disruptive innovations. To succeed, they must treat the project as a separate unit with a different business model and growth expectations. Ask, what job do customers need to get done? Segment customers by job, not by product, market size, or demographics. And develop basic, low-cost ways to get the job done. That's how Procter & Gamble came up with Crest White Strips, a cheap, do-it-yourself alternative to an expensive dental service. Disruptive innovation creates new markets and reshapes existing ones. To achieve growth in a fast-changing world, you want to be a disruptor. Don't be disrupted.
So that's sort of an idea about innovation. I think it's the big takeaway. This is a video that is recommended by our book, so that's on page 16 of 55. Recommended by the book, right? So you know how that goes. But the thing about it that I would take away from that is that big companies tend to get a little bit static. There's a word in English. It's a great word. Let's look it up and put it on the screen. Like a big country like America, who doesn't really know what to do in a coronavirus thing. Hubris means excessive pride or self-confidence. So you can imagine that as companies get bigger, for example, and they become industry leaders, they start to feel a bit untouchable. So they allow themselves to slip. They don't pay attention to trends. They believe everybody has to follow them and they don't have to follow others. So they're the ones who make a mistake in the market, and the younger companies, or the companies that are just focused on one new idea, are able to pretty much come in and take advantage of that, take advantage of how slow the big company has become. And then the second thing is that the big company, when it sees the small company as a threat, what happens after that is they don't move, they still don't move. They still have this excessive pride or self-confidence, like, that little company, don't worry about them. And before they know it, before they blink 2 times, they're dead. They're dead. So, so we can see this in many different markets. And so the lack of preparation that is happening in some industries, the music industry is truly one of the most slow to move industries, and now we can see, how they've kind of fallen apart over time. This is great. Business model innovation, we'll do that next class. But for now, let's look at some more disruptive innovation. Maybe in music would be fun. Music, so maybe, well, that was one disruption from Apple. This guy. this one's good. Let me just check it for 1 second. If it's bad, we'll be out of there.
So, what do we have to know about the seatbelt leaky belt rupture?
14 years ago.
Okay, so that's awful. But anyway, the music industry had all kinds of things happening, like from the beginning, people sat at home, they had radios, maybe. Very rarely did people go around with headphones in their ears listening to radio. Some people were into it, like baseball fans. Mr. Richard. But anyway, so I'll have to ask him, but I bet he did. I bet he went around with a radio in his ear. When I was a teenager in 1979, 1980, they had a new invention that was called the Sony Walkman. And it was different. I got one really early. I was really happy to get one. I was thrilled. 40th anniversary of the Sony Walkman was this year. 40th anniversary. Changed my life. Retro tech. They had some fun advertisements back in the day. Kids look at them. The old ads. Whoops. 40th anniversary. Social experience where everybody has to listen to your music unless you're a real audiophile and you sit around listening to headphones at home. Everyone is now able to create their own little movie in their head. At the same time, this is MTV started. So music is a soundtrack for your life. It started from that. So I used to wear my Walkman in public places all the time. I walk, I like to walk. I would walk. It's really a Walkman. I would walk actually more because I would wear it. I would walk miles and miles. But of course, you can't put a big record album into, you can record it onto a cassette and carry it in your Walkman. So you have it in your Walkman, you're carrying it, whatever. You have like 5 or 6 cassettes with you. That's probably more than enough. I don't know how many I carried with me back in the day. I have to choose very carefully which cassettes I want to have. Batteries are killing you. That's one problem with the Walkman. No recharger. So many AA batteries. At the same time, the cassette, all of a sudden, instead of you buying music in the shop, you can buy cassettes with pre-recorded music. But besides that, now you are recording your own albums onto cassettes, which means that you're recording music to, it can be moved, it can be shared. So all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I can make an extra copy for my friend. So it was a beautiful thing, even though in some ways it was antisocial, you have these headphones on, you really wanted to share with people, so you would make tapes for them so they could also enjoy, mixtapes. It's the best thing you could do for somebody. That was like a beautiful thing. You make a mixtape for somebody, that's love. So that was the thing. Another thing was all of a sudden, okay, I have a band. Nobody knows us, no one's ever heard of us. I don't have money to make one of these plastic albums But I can record a bunch of cassettes and sell them or give them away as promotion, and all of a sudden I'm a band. Oh, okay, so now all these people have my cassettes. All kinds of local bands that created music scenes, from hip hop was started basically from people making cassettes. Punk rock was started from people making cassettes. So all kinds of music innovations came from this one cassette, this cheap old cassette player. It was amazing. It really changed the whole game. Now, what they show here is another innovation, which is the music industry trying to fight back. This is called a Discman sometimes, or as a Sony, I don't know, Discman was the word that I remembered, but it was basically trying to be a CD Walkman. The music industry knew that you could not make your own CDs, at least at first. They were like, okay, well, we can resell this stuff. We can tell people, here's the marketing. The marketing of CDs was, somehow it's indestructible, like you can't scratch it as easily as a record. 2, the sound is perfect and it will never be different. It's going to be perfect sound forever. No click, 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 click. It doesn't fall apart or break like a cassette. 3rd, they told us that it lasts forever. Which is funny, right? It's never going to break. So, perfect sound, stronger than a record, and it lasts forever, which we know is not true at this point. Also, the sound quality was supposed to be better, but sometimes it wasn't because of the way digital is different from analog, which is something I would show you in class for fun if you were here, but you're not in class. So, this thing was funny because it has to spin. I don't know, you know CD players, so it has to spin, right? So, unlike a cassette player that's like kind of held in tight inside the machine, CD player has to kind of float over the light that reads the digital, you know, thing. You can't walk or run with the Walkman. You know, most of the time it's bouncing and then it's like, it's skipping. So it took them like 2 or 3 or 4 years to try to, well, maybe 2, to really make it not skip. Those old ones that skipped, all you could do is put it down on the table in front of you. The batteries, 4 batteries instead of 2. Battery life is terrible. They have to do this spinning thing. It takes so much power to spin the CD. It was a very inefficient style. It didn't really increase CD sales. CDs were, they didn't kill cassettes, really, they couldn't, but eventually CDs become writable. So we were able to write CDs and copy CDs, and then that was totally disruptive for the industry because, well, they thought they had it. They thought, okay, we got them trapped again. They had some ways that they thought they could keep the music without being able to copy, but like cassettes, we were able to copy it again. But this time, we weren't copying analog sounds, so we had to wait for the whole album to record. This time, we could just record, put it in the CD player, and it just records to another CD in a couple minutes, and it's done. We call it burning. We were burning the CD. So that was kind of, that should have been the moment that the record industry went, oh, what did we do? This music is the same sound. Like if you record from an album, a big black album, to a cassette, the quality is not as good. You get some kind of really light in the background. The cassette is never perfect sound. But with a CD, all of a sudden it's like perfect sound, perfect reproducibility. The record company should have been like, oh, okay, what do we do? We messed up. Okay, now we're in trouble. And they should have started thinking right then about what to do, because what's the next thing? Internet. So all of a sudden, your internet, now not only can you take a file and reproduce it, it's a digital file, put it on one CD and take it to another CD, all of a sudden I'm sending it to my friends. It's over. There's no more money. Nobody needs to buy anything anymore. If there's one copy on the internet, then everybody has it. You know, some people still want to buy the CD. They want to have all the songs. It's easier some ways. It was kind of slow to copy and upload, but at that point, they should have known that as the technology improves, As memory and speed improve, then it's gonna be a shock, right? At some point, because the sales of music are gonna go down, and that's what happened. People bought less and less CDs, and they did more and more file sharing. And that was pretty much the end of the era of albums, cassettes. They all kind of died. That's right about 2000. So, I'll just set up a little question for you based on that, because I think I've talked enough today, is what do you think? So so after 2000 and the first file sharing sites, one of which is called Napster, my question to you would be, what was the reaction? Did the music industry react, and how did they react to this challenge? And I'll mention that in a way like it's called business model. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow or next class. Business model. And the business model is how, and we talked about this before once, business model is how you get your product and service to customers and how you get money for it. How you get paid and how you distribute, combination. So that's all under distribution. So the business model of music had to change after, you know, the first file sharing sites, like Napster. That was one of the first ones. I'll put it on the board so you can see the name. So maybe you could do a little research and to try to see what Napster still exists, but no one uses it. This was a pioneering peer-to-peer sharing internet software that emphasized sharing digital audio files in an MP3 format. So that was that 1999, right? So by 2000, everything just went boom. It's hard to believe that it's 20 years ago since this whole fight has been going on. So anyway, maybe just focus on what is the music business's current business model. And I'm going to go over business model innovation in the next class. So thanks guys. I know this one's kind of long. Have a good day.